Welcome to Auction version 4, the latest event management software tool from Auction Systems. In this tutorial in the EventNight series, I will show you the EventNight Invoices activity. Invoices are used for checkout on EventNight. Invoices include any financial obligations such as cash donations, ticket purchases, and item purchases. Invoices also include any payments received thus far, and they have the net balance due from the guest. Invoices do not include any item or in-kind donations because those types of donations do not affect the balance due. Statements would include item donation information, but on EventNight, a simple invoice is what is called for to have a quick and efficient checkout process. While invoices can always be printed from the Documents task, we have made it easy to get to the type of invoices you will need for checkout on EventNight by adding that action to the EventNight task. Well before your actual event, save your preferences for your EventNight invoices as a preset. To do this, please go to the Documents task on the main home taskbar and choose Name and then pick Invoice. Not only can you customize the look of your invoice with a logo, special fonts, and purchaser information, you can also customize who you want to print invoices for. For example, why waste time and paper printing invoices for people that did not buy anything? Refine your invoice name selection to only print invoices for people who have a balance due. When you save your custom invoice, you do not only save the format, you save the name selection criteria. To print invoices on EventNight, click the Invoices Action button, or if you're already in the Winning Bid area, there is a Print Invoice button on the task ribbon that takes you directly to the EventNight Invoice area. If you have saved a custom invoice, choose that selection. If you have not saved one, the default setting most likely will get the job done for you. Last printed will either be the default invoice format or one of your saved invoice formats depending on which selection was most recently printed. If you're on a network of computers, choosing last printed will pull up the format that was last printed in the dataset from any of the computers, which may or may not be the one you last printed or the one you want. So when in doubt, if you have a custom format saved, choose that format rather than the last printed. By default, Auction will assume you want to not only open the format, but you will also want to use the name selection criteria in place when you saved that invoice as a custom invoice. If you did not pay attention to the name criteria when saving the look of your invoice, or if you're not sure the name criteria is correct, click the Format Only button. Clicking Format Only will bring up some suggestions for name criteria, and the default choice, which is probably the most likely name criteria, will be picked for you. This choice is to print invoices for people who have item or ticket purchases, who owe money, that is, they have a non-zero balance, and whose invoice has not already been printed. That invoice needed criteria means that if you have already printed an invoice for someone and no changes in the way of purchases or payments have been entered for that name record since you last printed the invoice, that person will not appear in the list of invoices needing printing. The other suggestions for name selection are invoices for people who have item purchases and still need printing. If you're not tracking ticket purchases in Auction, or if everyone has paid for their tickets in full in advance and you don't want to print invoices for people who just purchased tickets but did not buy anything else, this is the choice for you. But even if you select this choice, if you're tracking ticket purchases and payments for those tickets in Auction, if a person bought an item and also bought tickets and paid for those tickets in advance, their invoice will reflect both the ticket purchases and the item purchases and the payments. Invoices printed today is where you will find the names of people whose invoices were printed earlier today, and no winning bids or payments have been added to their record since that printing. So if your printer mangled up a paper or ran out of ink in the previous print job, you can choose this criteria to find a name and reprint their invoice. Invoices already printed will show you a list of people whose invoices were ever printed on any day, and since that printing, no new purchases or payments have been added to their record. If you have people who have only purchased tickets, whether they still owe for the tickets or not, to find their names and print their invoice, choose with only ticket purchases. With no purchases, we'll show you the list of people that did not buy any tickets or items. Retain current name selection will retain whatever criteria was in place when you saved your custom invoice format. Once you have chosen your format and name selection criteria, you will see this screen. The refinements that control the name selections are shown on the left, and on the right is the list of name records that fit that criteria. Along the ribbon, you still have a chance to change the invoice format by clicking the Select Format button. And if you don't like the name selection, click Select Names to choose an entirely different name selection criteria. Any of these refinements can be modified by clicking on or off the choices associated with the refinement. You can delete a specific refinement altogether by clicking the X next to that refinement, and you can add one or more additional refinements at the bottom. Sort the list of names on the right to change the order they will print. The default order will be alphabetical by last name or sometimes company name if that was the list by choice made when the name got entered in the data. But if you prefer, you can sort by bid number or by table name, total purchase amount, balance due, or whether the guest has quick checkout. A single click on any column heading will sort the list smallest to highest. A double click will sort the list from highest to lowest. Select the number of copies for each invoice you want to print, and V4 will print multiple copies of any document when asked. When printing multiple copies, no collate means that all the copies of the invoice for a specific record will print before printing the invoice for the next person. This button has a down arrow, which means there is another choice in the button. Click the button to see the other choice, which is collate. If you choose collate, one copy of the invoice for each person will print out before it prints another copy in order of each person's invoice. Preview Selected will show you a preview of the invoices or invoice for any selected name or names in the list, and Print Selected will print the number of copies you ask for the selected name or names. To select a single name record, click on it so that its line is dark red. To select a consecutive group of names, click the first name and then hold down your Shift key on your keyboard and click on the last name you wish to select. All the names in between will also be selected. To select multiple names that are not consecutive, click on one name, then hold down the Control key on your keyboard and click another name, and then another name. Just the names you click on while the Control key is held down will be selected. Print Next 10 will ignore any selections and just print the number of invoices you set for the first 10 records in the list of names. Once those are sent to the printer, they will go away, and Print Next 10 again will print the next 10 records. Print Next 10 only works for invoices needed. If your name selection criteria is to show you invoices that have already been printed and no changes have been made as far as adding purchases or payment to those name records, the Print Next 10 button will not do anything. If you're looking at records whose invoices have already been printed, if you want to print a selection of names, first you must select the names and then click Print Selected. If you need to return to the winning bid entry screen or check-in guest screen, the buttons to do that are right here on the EventNight Invoices task ribbon, as well as the Urgent SOS button, which has information on how to contact technical support at Auction Systems. The next tutorial in the EventNight series will be for checking in guests. Thank you for joining us.